Hello, everybody. Welcome to another weekly boost. I'm sorry I've been a little bit MIA, but these past few weeks have been a little bit difficult for me health-wise, so I have just been taking it easy, so I hope that you can understand. I have nothing prepared, so I just wanted to see how you all have been doing and how you guys have been doing mentally and also overall health-wise. Today it's funny because the sun is out and everything seems like cheery and so full of like positivity and light, and sometimes ourselves on the inside can completely feel the opposite. And I remember when I was like a teenager, when I used to feel this way, I always felt like I was betraying the sun for some reason, which I think is kind of funny, how adolescents think. But now, I've just learned to kind of take things a day at a time because that's all we can really do. So for those of you who were able to even just sit up in bed and just take a breather, or for those of you who were able to just change your old pajamas into new pajamas and just maybe brush your hair or brush your teeth this morning, that's amazing, and I'm really proud of you because I know how difficult those day-to-day tasks can be, and a lot of people don't understand that, and some people may never understand that because to them it's something perfunctory and it's something that just is, they do it on autopilot. But for us that struggle with mental health, those things can be a challenge for us because we're fighting against our own mind, and our own mind just doesn't have the fuel, the mental capacity, the motivation, the will to want to do those things or see that those things are important in our lives. And for those of you who were able to do just one little thing off a checklist, or one thing that you thought brought you a semblance of joy, whether it's making yourself a calming tea or spritzing yourself with your favorite perfume or putting on your favorite body lotion to, have the scent comfort you, you should be proud of that. And those little things, they do add up little by little, and eventually you'll realize that you're more capable than you thought you were, and eventually you'll get over those small obstacles that right now seem insurmountable. And the episodes of sadness or the episodes of mania or just the lulls in life where you feel you're in limbo, they will pass, and different opportunities will present themselves in your life, and you'll recognize that you actually have the ability to choose what's right for you. And when you see that you have that power to choose, that really gives you a sense of empowerment and self-confidence. So keep doing what you're doing, and know that you have myself who's also there in it with you. I'm right there in the trenches, so you're not alone. And together, like I said, with this community, we can build each other up, because that's really what it's all about. Because I think, like I've mentioned before, we're all dealing with challenges, and I'm sorry for getting emotional, but that's just life too, right? We deal with different emotions, and we shouldn't be ashamed of that. We deal with different trials, and even though they may be different for everybody, but we're humans, and I think the feelings are very similar. And so the fact that we can relate to each other in that human way is what brings us together. Because there's so much division in the world today already, and we don't need more of that. We definitely don't need more of that. We need something that's going to unify us. And if understanding each other through the mind in a mindful way is going to help do that, then we need to do more of it. So I hope that this channel can be that for you, and perhaps for others that you know of. I'll just share a little bit with you of what I've sort of been dealing with. I've been struggling with a lot of physical health problems. That they have a neurological background. And unfortunately, because I struggle with mental illness, as many of you know, I have bipolar 1 disorder. That's in my chart. So unfortunately, if I go to the hospital, or even if I'm brought in via ambulance, I have been neglected by the medical system. I have been shown a bias. I have been abused physically because nurses feel that I am faking my condition, because for whatever reason they feel that I'm just wanting attention because of my mental illness. There was a point where I was literally showing stroke-like symptoms, and the ambulance came, and they commended my parents for calling the ambulance because I showed all the signs of a stroke. So when I got to the hospital, no one tended to me. No one even acknowledged my presence. I suffer with a seizure disorder, and it turned out I had a seizure, and there was a nurse that was, I kid you not, like not even 2 meters away from me, and she was just looking at me and not helping me. And I could notice my speech was going away, like my mouth was being contorted to one side. And I was just looking at her as I'm convulsing, but I could feel myself slipping away. And I'm yelling, like, help, help, looking at her. And she was just up against a wall doing nothing. And meanwhile, I see like passersby looking at me, kind of confused as to why no one is helping me. And that was the most helpless feeling as a human being I think I've ever felt. And I didn't understand why she wasn't helping me. That then finally I just yelled out my parents. I'm like, Mom, Mom, because I knew they were right around the corner. But then the nurse said, she's like, your mom isn't here. It was like a scene out of a movie. She said it with such a maliciousness until my mom like whipped around the corner immediately, and then the nurse said, oh. And as I was slipping away from consciousness, I heard my mom and dad say, like, why is nobody helping her? Why is nobody helping my daughter? Somebody help her. And then all I heard was that same nurse say, we're aware. We're aware. And then I lost consciousness. When I woke up, I see my mom and dad, my dad holding my mom, and she's crying. And I'm like, I feel so tired and so weak from having my seizure. And all I can hear is my mom saying, so just because she has a mental illness, you're not going to help her? You're already showing a bias towards her because she has a mental illness? Because I used to work at that same hospital many years back. And for those of you who may not know, if you go to the emergency, they do have a priority of individuals that they see, even if you've come before or earlier than that person. So people who come in with chest pain or signs of a stroke or any neurological symptoms, those take precedent over somebody who, say, has like, unfortunately, like stubbed their toe or has like cut themselves but it isn't too deep, you know, or has a severe headache. Those take precedent because you know, for risk of a heart attack or for risk of something worse or a blood clot. Yeah, nobody tended to me. I had to actually ask a nurse. I said, like, I've been here for 4 hours already and I don't know if what I had was a stroke. Can you tell me, like, I said, aren't like people who have stroke-like symptoms supposed to be a priority? And she goes, it depends what kind of stroke it is. And I knew that was absolutely not true. And I knew they didn't take me seriously because they saw in my chart about my clinical history. And it's still so sad how even this day and age, mental illness is still not taken seriously. And the thing is, one has nothing to do with the other. So if somebody comes in with diabetes, but they show signs of a stroke, you're not going to tend to them? That doesn't make any sense. having depression, having bipolar, having schizophrenia, those are just as legitimate of diseases and illnesses as somebody with diabetes, you know? But like I mentioned, it's like we have that mental health scarlet letter that just cannot be rubbed away. And these past 2 weeks, I had to go to the hospital again for some other symptoms that have been really scary that have come up. And again, as soon as physicians or nurses look at my chart, I see their faces change. They don't treat me the same. One nurse said she was gonna give me Ativan to see if my symptoms would calm down. And then when another nurse came and she's like, okay, here's your Ativan. And I looked at it, I'm like, yeah, this is not Ativan, this is a sugar pill. As if somebody who has dealt with mental issues since she was 13 doesn't know what freaking Ativan looks like. Because they wanted to prove that what I was feeling was all in my head. And I thought, this is happening again. Such a slap in my face. It's like they're gaslighting me into thinking that what I'm feeling isn't true and isn't actually happening to me. And yeah, when the nurse who was seeing me saw that, yeah, the sugar pill wasn't doing a damn thing, then she took me to the next step for me to see an actual physician. But it's just wild. And if any of you have experienced something similar within the medical field due to your mental illness, of you not being treated fairly for a physical symptom that you go into for, please share it in the comments. I'd be really interested to read your stories and to just see how far this goes. Because the nurse who abused me physically, she flat out said that I was faking my seizures. She performed a procedure that you're only supposed to do on individuals who are like pretty much have OD'd and have lost consciousness, and they have not regained consciousness. In fact, the health authority that that particular hospital is under, they advise to not do that procedure on anybody because it is so unbelievably painful. And she did it while I was having my seizure, and the type of seizures that I used to have, I mean, I'm on a medication now where I've been seizure free. I mean, it's only been 6 weeks seizure free, but I mean, I'll take it. The type of seizures that I had, I am completely aware of what's going on around me, but that almost kind of makes it worse because I will be like frozen in my body. There are some times where I do lose complete consciousness, but most of the time I can hear everything. I can see everybody around me or my surroundings, but like I can't answer, I can't do anything. I'm like frozen. It's a really gnarly feeling. And yeah, she did that procedure on me, and I have never experienced pain like that in my entire life. And I'm being like 100% legit, and I can tolerate pain. And yeah, I tolerated that pain because I was having a seizure. I couldn't do anything. I was frozen in my own body. But she expected that because I was faking it, that then I would come out of my seizure and like shout in pain or something because I was faking it. And she did it in 2 places in my body. And the next day, I could barely move because the area was, well, she broke skin, and the second area was in my sternum. And you know, that area is really, really delicate. And yeah, I could barely move. So I reported her. I reported the other nurse too, but the thing is, the other nurse, you're supposed to always have your identification showing with your name and with your ID tag. And I think these nurses, like, when I was having my seizure, when they didn't tend to me, I think they purposefully hid their ID tags. And when I asked for her name, she goes, "Why do you want my name?" And I said, "Well, because I'm going to make a complaint against you." And she's like, "Well, you're not going to get my name." And I'm like, okay. And I said, "Well, then why didn't you help me when I asked for help?" She's like, what would you have had me do?" And I'm like, I don't know. Go up to me, hold my hand, tell me things are going to be okay. I don't know. Your job? You're a nurse. And she like defiantly like walked away from me. She still works at that hospital. And I did all that I could to try to report the individuals involved who were, you know, the ones directly involved. But at the end of the day, there's only so much you can do. I was just so tired of having to deal with like one thing after the other, after the other, after the other. It seemed like there was no end in sight in terms of like light at the end of the tunnel. But what I realized about my life, if this has been happening to you, or you just domino effect, like things you don't feel like you can catch a breather, is your life may just be the tunnel. Like, that may just be our reality. But the tunnel isn't always dark. There are skylights and there are windows, and some windows can open, some windows can't, but the ones that can open, we open them and we allow fresh air to come in, and we can hear the birds, and we can breathe in just this pure oxygenated air, and we get really cool views of nature. Or if you're an ocean person, or if you're a lake person, you can envisage the most beautiful places in order to really get you back into the mindset of trekking through the tunnel. And then the skylights at night, you can see the stars, and you can pick out your favorite constellations, maybe see shooting stars, you can maybe wish on some. And that's what sort of gets you through. And that's what can encourage us. You know, for those whose life is where they can get through to the other side, that's so great. And I applaud them, because those people are so unbelievably strong. And for those of us that perhaps in one way or another can withstand a little more, we're in here, you know, and where it twists and turns, we can't really see when the tunnel's going to do that, because that's where the dark moments are. But when they do, and when we pass them, we can breathe a sigh of relief and just keep moving on to the next part of the tunnel, hoping that we see a little bit of light from a window. And it's not that we don't think there's an open end. We just don't know where that end is. Because there's constant twists and turns and difficulties and challenges and people in our life who we felt we can trust, but they betrayed us, and that sort of then sets us back, and we have to recalibrate. But then we pop up, kind of like crocuses and tulips in spring. You know, so for those of us that are in a similar situation, we're made of tough stuff. And so are many of you that are also watching this video. You're made of tough stuff. And you will get through this particular challenge that you are going through right now. I know that for sure. Well, it's already 27 minutes, and I promised myself I would keep it to under 20, so I apologize if it's gotten a little bit longer. But just know that I'm here again. If you want to just send me an email and share a little bit of your story on a personal level, feel free, and I will respond right away. And if you want me to share your story on the channel, I will definitely do so. You just let me know what parts you want me to redact and what parts you want me to share, because I know that other people will benefit for sure from hearing from individuals from the community. Because when we hear of real life experiences of individuals who have and are going through unique circumstances, it really helps to encourage and boost the rest of us. Well, I hope that this has been encouraging, and I hope that you all have a lovely rest of your week, and I'm sending you lots of love. Bye for now.